there's a lot of controversy that went down at round 2 of World Supercross at Abu Dhabi between the track to the riders to where they were actually located, the smaller stadium, a lot of it. We're going to break it down. I'm going to go over some of the mistakes. You're going to have an educated decision whether you agree, disagree. But I do have to give it up to World Supercross for doing something that's never been done before and being able to put on a track and a show with the equipment that they were given. It's pretty crazy. There's some stuff that went over there that was just mind-blowing. However, let's focus in on some of the racing, and I want you to pay attention to this rider right here. Yes, Vince Friese, love him or hate him. There's no such thing as bad press. His stock has got to be kind of going through the roof right now because everyone's talking about him, regardless if it's negative or not. Watch, it's subtle, but what he's doing, cross jump to cut the lines over between Wilson here. And then watch here, you've got Aranda, and he's going to try to keep it to the inside and not run into these riders, so he's going to land hard on the brakes. That suspension does not move when you land on the brakes. Boom, and takes him out. Completely takes him out. There's multiple things that are going on right here. So you got Aranda that didn't want to run into these riders, and he was staying to the inside, but he almost could have made a double pass. It would have been a hard block pass on both of them. Could have taken them both out, but if he would have just not landed on the brakes, let the suspension do its thing underneath him, he wouldn't have crashed. Because again, like I said, suspension locks up when you're on the brakes. If you let the wheels free flow, that suspension's actually going to do his job. So he ends up going down really hard. But if I back up here, watch. It's subtle. Okay. We're starting off, and you have Vince Friese. He's jumping to the inside because he's holding his line. He's defending his line against Wilson. So he's making sure somebody can't make a pass on the inside of him. But then he senses Wilson now switches trajectory and goes to the outside. So what does he do? Vince jumps all the way to the outside to block Wilson. Wilson has to jump not off the track, but at the far edges. And there's a clean line up the inside that Aranda could have went for, but he didn't. But this is definitely Vince going from left to right here. So we'll play it again, and you can see it. Subtle. Here's a very small second example of Vince cross-jumping. He's doing it to Kenny. It's only about 6 to 12 inches. It's minute, but if you pay attention, you will notice what's going on here. So he's not giving Kenny any room. Kind of is in the inside, but he moves over to the point where Kenny's not able to finish the triple section here. Yes, Vince is holding his line, but he's also moving to the inside by 6 to 12 inches. And these bikes, it just takes a couple inches to take somebody's line away, and that's what happens to Kenny. Takes his line away, and he basically lands in where Kenny is going to land. So Kenny has to check up. He's got to then go double. Because if he tries to jump again, triple, he's going to take them both out. And that's really Vince's biggest strength, is he's able to ride behind him. He's able to know what's going on behind him, and he makes a defensive move. Yes, does it put people in a little bit of a precarious situation? Absolutely. At that point, you're putting a lot of faith in the rider behind you isn't going to continue to push the limit because you took that away. And that's where it gets into this gray area, is how do you keep this from happening? Because nothing really bad happened, right? The riders just get mad about it. But in my eyes, this was completely taking Kenny's line away, or he would have been able to triple to the inside and take the line from Vince. It is good defensive racing by Vince, and that's really what he's had to do, is he knows he isn't the fastest guy to cut through the pack. So what does he do to set himself up for success? He gets a good start, and then he rides defensive. He slows down, he pushes people around, and he gets a good finish. Without him riding that way, would he be on the podium? Would he be close to winning races? No. So this is what he has to do to get himself ahead. So in a weird way, you commend him for doing what he needs to do. However, at the same time, you're going where is that line? Where it's an arbitrary line, where there's not this defined black and gray. So what do you do about it? Let me know in the comments below. In this example, you got Vince slowing down to under single digits to slow the pack up, and then the next lap, he literally looks back and stops to brake check and then gets going, but Dino wasn't close enough, and he stops again, slows down right there. And later, when he gets past, what does he do? He jumps to the inside of Dino. Yeah, Dino did admit that he left the line open because he's far on the outside. Yes, if you're able to haul ass around the outside and not really have to use a lot of your brakes, you could go outside, inside, check up. I think that's what he does, is he goes from way to the outside to then sweep to the inside, but he leaves the door open and the lines come together. But remember at the beginning of this video when we had Aranda case and land on the brakes and crash because he didn't want to run into anybody, what does Vince do here? Makes it boom, and then just cleans out Dino. Granted, he didn't case the triple, but he didn't slow down either. He could have braked and made that to where he just kind of pushed him somewhat high, not completely just take the line. Because if I go a little bit more in slow motion, he wasn't even trying to stop. Like, that was a straight up T-bone hard hit. He was heading straight for the outside line. In the next race, Dino tries to return the favor, but doesn't knock him completely down because he literally, that was a solid block pass, right? It wasn't just a front wheel takeout. It was a solid block pass. Boom. Because for him to take him out, he would need to be almost a bike length ahead, where the typical bike length is you want to have your rear wheel hit their front wheel and have them go down. But yeah, was it a takeout move? Tried to be, but instead it ended up being just a kind of wham bam, don't do that to me anymore type of a deal. The next race is going to be very entertaining in Australia between all of these guys. So I am definitely excited because it does bring a dynamic of drama to racing that sometimes racing is missing too. This was before Dino ended up trying to take out Vince. You've got Joey and Vince, and watch what Vince does. Comes in, boom, almost cleans out Joey, to the point where that's where Dino's able to get around Joey. Here, watch that again. It was subtle. We'll do it in slow motion. Almost takes him out. Almost takes him completely off the bike. Very aggressive riding. And once again, in the final round 3 moto, same situation. Joey out front, Vince in second. Takes the line completely from him. Joey is off the track and actually doesn't race to keep Kenny in front of him. He lets Kenny by and he enters the track safely. But my point here is, like, this is every race where something is going on and there is still incredibly aggressive riding going on every freaking race. So now you have an angry Savatgy that is trying to put things into his own hands. Boom. Does the same thing that Dino did, but watch what Vince does. Vince doesn't take it as he got passed. He re-enters ahead of Savatgy. And now Savatgy has to deal with trying to get around him once again. So here, we'll watch that again. Looks over. He knows where they're at. But when it's all said and done, Friese gets a penalty. He gets a penalty of 2 positions. So the race director, in fact, penalized him for, what was this for? Was this aggressive riding? Was this that same incident between Savatgy? I mean, you could have had multiple things. Every race, you could have had some sort of a penalty. And then you've got Mitchell Oldenburg getting disqualified for outside assistance, right? Where this is a clear failure to comply to the rules, where Friese, when there's aggressive riding going on, it like I said, it's arbitrary. It's hard to have a black and white where this is crossing the line, this is not crossing the line. It's very difficult because every situation is different. It's not just plain and dry where it's like, You get disqualified if you break the rules and have outside assistance. Boom. That's an easy one to do. This one is difficult to make that decision. And you guys know, if you watched my live show, some of my thoughts, I do think that this is good, that we did see some actual repercussions towards the actions. However, it went on through every moto. So usually you could stop ahead of time and you could not have these riders retaliate from Wilson to Joey if there wasn't an occurrence that kept happening later on in the race. But I want to know again in the comments below your whole thoughts of what is going on and how this is, because it does make for good racing. I will say that it does make for some interesting racing as long as people are not injured. This video is brought to you by Energy Fuel. So if you're the type of rider that has got a queasy stomach and it's hard to keep food down during race day, well, this stuff is perfect for you. And if you're not that type of guy, it's still perfect for you because it has everything that you need to keep going and stay alert as far as electrolytes, some caffeine, depending upon if you're racing a GNCC that's 2 to 3 hours, or you just have signed up for 6 different motos, or if you just have one race. This stuff is perfect for you because it has everything you need as far as carbohydrates, all the sodium, all the sugar, everything, even some caffeine if you need it. I love this stuff. My favorite is Energy Fuel. My favorite flavors are watermelon and pink lemonade. Make sure you head over to CoachRobStore.com and pick this up today. So Brayton ended up hitting the ground really hard in that first race, and I believe it was Tanti as well. I think Tanti wasn't able to do a double because you've got 20 guys, you got 10 guys on the front, 10 guys on the back row, a tight track, things are going to get interesting. And usually when people can't do rhythms, they get landed on, and that's what ended up happening in my opinion here, where you've got Brayton. It's hard to see. It's here in the back. You have, okay, where is it? Right here. Tanti not able to do the double in the rhythm, and then Brayton just lands right on top of him, and boom. Lands really, really hard. Here, we'll watch that yet again so you guys can see it. Brayton does say he's okay. I'm not entirely sure about Tanti. Boom, but he was able to race the rest of the races, so I believe Tanti was feeling up for it. And if we move on to Kenny, this was after battling with Vince and doing a hell of a job of going outside in, trying to find. Here you can see him going from outside to the inside to having a perfect setup where a lot of these riders were setting up here in the middle here to turn right. Well, you've got Kenny way on the far outside because he's going to make a jump up the inside of him, and he's not able to do it. You can already see that front wheel washing. You can already see it pushing, because he's just trying to get too much out of that motorcycle. And I think his ankle actually hit that inside mound of dirt here. And would this have happened if he would have had his inside leg out? Because a lot of these guys are starting to keep their feet on the pegs. And like a track like this, you didn't really need to keep your leg up, because the whole reason for moving your leg up is to let that foot peg fold because there's ruts or something, it's leaning over too far. Well, here he's relatively almost straight up and down, not entirely, but enough to where it wouldn't advise you to do something like that. And there's no ruts. It's smooth. It's smooth. So he just lands. He doesn't have as much surface area of the knobbies, and boom, goes down here. I'm sure it's going to show in a different angle. Let's watch it. Perfect setup. You could already see it already washing right here, but look at this mound of dirt. Here, I'm going to do it in slow-mo for... Yeah, it might have been his foot that ended up taking him down, because that front wheel didn't completely wash until that mound of dirt there. Yes, Kenny is right. There is a small rut there, a dry rut, but look at how that whole bike bounced. Usually in a low side, you're not going to have the ass end bounce up. And this is why his ankle and his foot hurt so bad, is because, boom, look at the inertia that ankle and foot hit. Boom. So what would have saved this? Maybe if he would have landed sitting down and had that leg out, to clear this mound right here. But man, he is pushing that motorcycle to the extreme. And at first I thought that just, again, the surface area of the knobbies, he didn't have enough and it just low sided on him. But after watching this, it is in fact that mound of dirt that took him out. Boom, that bounces that bike and he goes down. And then he rebounds spectacularly and is able to basically go from first or last to first. Wow, 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 wow. Well, that is it for this video. If you've made it this far, make sure you like and you subscribe and even share this. I know a lot of you guys are continuing to do that, so I sincerely appreciate it. Till next time, keep it WFO. Brop.